Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. I am, as always, your host, Marco Mazzola, and with me tonight is my amazing wife, Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hi, everybody.
So tonight we are doing, this month in January, we're actually going to be doing, with the regular ranters, we're going to be doing a sort of month-long version of the, New Me, New You movie. So we have a whole lot of stuff coming up, like Father Like Son and vice versa, and trading places. We're going to be doing that with the three geeky dads, all four of them. So we're going to be recording that shortly. So that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But tonight, Amy and I have been watching Spirited over and over again, pretty much on an endless loop. I know it's after Christmas, but we're dying to talk about this movie. I probably told 4 or 5 people today to watch this movie, including the Tancredis. So when we were sitting there watching for adult class. So it has become one of our new favorite Christmas movies to watch. It stars Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. It's basically a musical version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Well, another musical
version. The one that nobody asked for, but we are so happy we got.
Yes, for sure.
So the reason, obviously, without burying the lead, the reason we want to talk about it so bad is because we've loved it. And we loved everything about it. The music is amazing. The dancing, the costumes, the comedy between Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds is just spot on. I think they work really, really well together. Hopefully they do more stuff together, but this was a pure joy. So tell me your thoughts about the movie, Amy.
So I think you really hit it on the head. I think it's the dynamic between Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell that really sells it and makes it as special as it is, because you really feel the relationship between the two of them growing and evolving as the movie grows.
Yeah.
And I think that was really, really amazing. I mean, it's an updated version of A Christmas Carol. I love every version of A Christmas Carol. It's one of my favorite stories. The idea that no matter who you are, you can change.
Right.
Some people just need a much bigger push.
Yes.
To change.
And we talked about this when we did the Christmas Carol review from North Shore Music Theater. And you loved it. Billy loved it,
It's the idea that it's never too late to make a change or to be a better person or to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get tired of that. I wouldn't have the job that I do if I didn't believe that.
True.
So, I mean, I think, I go into these, I'm sort of a sucker for them anyways. And prior to this, I'd have to say probably my favorite version, don't laugh at me, is The Muppets. No,
that's a lot of people really love that one.
Yeah, the Muppets. And I think
a very popular one.
Nostalgia from my childhood.
Yeah.
Kermit the Frog was always my favorite. But this I might like even more.
So this, to me, falls more in the line of Scrooge, where it's like an offbeat version. It's not almost like a strict retelling of the story, even with a twist like The Muppets or something like that. So let's break it down. So spoilers if you haven't seen it. Stop the podcast, go watch the movie. It's playing on Apple TV. That's the Apple TV Plus. It's the only place right now that you can watch it, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. It was produced by Apple, actually. So that's why it's a made for Apple TV Plus movie made by them. So it was incredible. Let's kind of go through the director Sean Anders, and he also wrote it. Again, it stars Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds, Octavia Spencer, Patrick Page plays Marley, Sunita Mani plays the Past Ghost.
Ghost of Christmas Past.
But they just call her Past. Lauren G. Woods plays Yet to Come. He's the physical version. He's really tall. But Tracy Morgan plays the voice,
of the
Yet to Come. And Will Ferrell plays Present. He's the
Christmas
Present. But there's a twist, and we'll talk about that because, again, spoilers on the movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. But here's what I loved about it, because it's not just, like I said, it's not a straight retelling. It's a whole different version where Ryan Reynolds basically plays a guy who owns a media company. His name is Clint Briggs. He owns a media company that basically helps clients become popular, become famous, get what they need through their social media. And he does it through extremely awful tactics, basically ripping apart, making up fake news about their opposition, whoever their opposition might be. And, totally
Through
trashing
scandal.
them through scandal and all different ways of just trashing them horribly. So he's deemed unredeemable, much like Scrooge was unredeemable by the Go ahead.
But they call him unredeemable because he's committed to the belief that people never change.
Right.
That's why he's unredeemable.
Exactly. So
Not,
basically,
as Will Ferrell tells you, because he drowns puppies.
right. So the afterlife is filled with basically musical and a lot of tap dancing and dancing and singing, and so the
This
spirits.
is how I picture
Yes.
the afterlife. By the way,
And
I'm going to enjoy
and
every
I'm going to try to
minute
kill
of it.
myself again. Just
be with it longer.
Yeah, won't that be fun with all the tap dancing? So, basically, the spirits in the afterlife now, their job is to help one person a year, or a perp as they call them, which I think is hysterical, become their next Scrooge, if you will. They redeem this person and they turn them back to be a force for good for humanity. So some undesirable who has done a whole bunch of bad crap, they try to turn around through the haunting, just like they did in the Christmas Carol. So what I love of the fact of this movie is that it recognizes A Christmas Carol as something that actually happened. It's self-aware. It's meta, if you will. So they call meta now, right?
In that way, yeah.
They understand that A Christmas Carol did happen. So the biggest twist, which I love, is that Will Ferrell is Scrooge. He is Ebenezer Scrooge, who had been redeemed and then died and now became the ghost of Christmas Present. And the whole movie basically centers around, obviously, Ryan Reynolds and them trying to redeem him, but also Will Ferrell's, his Scrooge basically trying to find out if he was truly redeemed. And, if he is, he can take his retirement from being the ghost of Christmas Present and live the rest of the life on Earth as a human and live out his days in the present, which I thought was a great twist to be. But we don't find that out until Will Ferrell, being the ghost of Christmas Present, is taking Ryan Reynolds through his present, a little bit in his past, because we'll get there, because that was a great part. But he's taking him through his present, and Ryan Reynolds is just not letting up. He asks him, he just constantly tries to switch it around, which just drives Will Ferrell crazy. So eventually, he takes him to his own past, to Will Ferrell's past, and shows him that he was Scrooge. And he was the only other unredeemable to go through the program. And if it worked for him, it can work for Clint, if you will. Which then leads into one of my favorite scenes and one of my favorite songs. So we'll get to the songs, because the songs are just, obviously it's a musical, so it's 90% singing, okay?
It's not 90% singing. There's a lot of action that happens in this one in between.
Yeah, but it's so many songs. But I'm not complaining because I love it. And we know now, yes, I know, I love musicals now. Okay, it's been one of Amy's biggest contentions that I always say that I didn't like music. I wasn't a musical person.
I'm not really big on musicals. The last
Since
6
Hamilton.
years, you've been pretty big on musicals.
Since Hamilton, I've been bigger on musicals. I'm not going to see them all.
And Evita, too. You really were into Evita
yes,
for a while.
so I definitely get with musicals a lot more than I ever used to. All right, there. We've all solved that. So we solved that plenty. Good. All right. So let's talk about some of our favorite parts, and how the movie progresses and where we start.
So one of my favorite parts in the movie, like there are two. I have two favorite songs, but the first one is the one that Ryan Reynolds sings at the beginning when they're introducing his character.
Yes.
And it's called, help me out here.
Actually, I have it right up here. Hold on one second. I will find it for you. Let's see. Story. No.
Bringing Back Christmas.
Yes,
right?
It's bringing back Christmas.
So it's this whole, like, you see Ryan Reynolds' character up there, and
he's giving a speech for Christmas tree, basically producers, people who produce real Christmas trees, and their economy, their business is in the shitter because everybody's going fake. Everybody's going fake commercial trees. Yeah. So he's trying to help them through his company. Back on top, back to sales going up.
Yes.
And of course it turns into a musical number.
Right. And it's really impressive. You watch how he lays out his whole thought process, which is like, people are basically lazy and desperate to be happy. So what you need to do is, yes. So what you need to do is you need to feed the hate that they feel for it's not enough to just market your product is better. Right. You need to make it contentious, and you need to say that, like, you're selling your values here, and Christmas of old and all these things, and you need to make it divisive to be on one side or the other.
Right.
So that you're on the side of right and the other people are on the side of wrong.
And they push that through the media, including The Late Show, right? With Jimmy Fallon. He's on there.
And how you but that's what you have to do. If you want to move your product, this is what you have to do, which I think resonates on so many levels with so many things that are going on in the world right now. That
it's almost like they're trying
to
cancel fake Christmas trees.
Well, exactly. So it's really, and it's really powerful. And you watch, I mean, obviously it's a movie, but you watch how these people respond to him. And you can see like someone who has charisma or someone who is selling it, but also because of everything we've been through, particularly politically and everything up and down, you can see that like people completely buying in and hating and the hatred that develops. It's really fascinating to watch. Will Ferrell says at one point, it's one of my favorite lines in the whole thing. Oh my God, he's the perfect combination of Mussolini and Seacrest.
Yes.
And in that moment, it is like he's like this charismatic, divisive leader, but he's also up there like, smooth and slick and very Ryan Seacrest.
Yes.
Very Ryan Seacrest. So it's
charming
amazing.
the pants off everybody.
Yeah, it is an incredibly, I love it. Like it's a great number.
Yes.
I think it's my favorite one in the whole, it comes really early on, but I think it's my favorite one in the whole musical. It's just so well done, well timed. And if you watch the dancing, and one of the things that I like the most about the dancing is they don't just dance, like they use all the props and everything that are available to them. Like when the people are sitting at the convention tables, they're moving, like their arms are moving, their hands are moving, they're like moving in the chairs. They're not just...
Yeah, everybody in the audience becomes part of the musical number.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So they create the entire dance sequence. So it's rated PG-13. It actually, it's runtime is 2 hours and 7 minutes. I completely forgot that. It doesn't feel like over 2 hours.
No.
It feels like it goes by pretty quick. So back down to music, my favorite, and this, is Good Afternoon. So when they go back to the past, to Ebenezer's past, and basically at one point he sees Ebenezer, the old Ebenezer, the original, talking to a kid. He tells the kid good afternoon, and a few other people, and they all start like going, oh my God, why would you say that to somebody? So Ryan Reynolds eventually asked him, like, why did everybody get so pissy when you said good afternoon? He goes, well, back in the 1800s, good afternoon was a sick burn, right? It was basically like saying F you.
Yeah.
Like really, it was
extremely graphic.
Extremely graphic. So that turns into, again, to a whole musical number. Ryan Reynolds kicks off Good Afternoon. So I've used that. I posted an image from it with Good Afternoon. It's basically said, if you know, you know. And that's on our Facebook and our Instagram page if you want to go see that. And I love it. You and I will do it to each other. Good afternoon. just to play with each other and have some fun. That is my favorite song. He basically gets Will Ferrell to start using it during that time, because of course he can't. He's supposed to be, the Christmas present spirit, and he's supposed to be good. He's doing for good. He's trying to help everybody out and turn people around. So he can't be saying things like that. And he gets him to say it. It was hysterical.
So it's also that song, and it's probably because I do what I do, but a lot in social work, we talk about like meeting people where they're at and not just like sort of sitting in your ivory tower with your education. And in that song, it reminded me a lot, or you can see like the value of sort of like meeting the person where they're at, right? Like you have to be really careful with that, and that you're not getting too sucked in, because I think at times definitely Will Ferrell's character was. But there's this value in like joining the person where they're at, because when you're too far away, or your goals are too lofty, or you're trying to approach from like too high a perspective, you're not going to get the person to buy in. The first step is the buy-in.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to be really creative to get the buy-in.
Yeah. And that was very creative. That was really good. That song was, it's a really energetic song. The dance numbers inside of it is a lot of tapping. And we get to see Judi Dench walk by and says her name. And they're like, was that really Judi Dench? No, she's a national treasure. I liked her name. I liked her in Chocolate.
Chocolat.
That was so good. So actually, I was listening to the album today, and Judi Dench is not on it.
I know.
Because they don't want to pay her, most likely. Because if she's on there, so there's a lot of that throughout the album. If you listen to the album, there's a lot of like the little background stuff that would happen, interactions, and they don't put them in there, because if they do, they'd have to pay those people rights every time the music's played. Every time an album is sold, they have to pay them. So probably their price is probably too. So they just cut them out. So I was disappointed in that, because it's kind of weird. And then, you see her on screen, but when you know her part's coming up, and they're like, "Is that Judi Dench?" Like, nobody said anything.
Yeah.
It's an audio thing. Can't really understand that. But it doesn't take away from the song. The song's amazing. Anyway, so that was playing. That's fine. So, all right, let's go through it. So we start out with them, the spirits, the Christmas yet to come. Is basically doing the thing at the grave. This woman, she's
Karen.
Thanks. She is a Karen. He's basically giving her the whole "you're gonna die and this is what's gonna happen if you don't straighten up," and she straightens up, and she goes back to her her present, and it does the whole basically the Scrooge thing. She turns around the neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood hated her. Now they love her. So that was really good. And then every time they do that, they sing a big song. Mm-hmm. Right, they basically sing the song with the person, and like everything's great. The musical numbers are awesome, and that's when we start off on the adventure. Right, we see what happens in the afterlife, and Will Ferrell. Now they're going to try to find next year's perp. Right, so basically right away they have some chili, which I thought was really funny. Every time when they want to do these things, and it's all about the ripples. They say, right, what kind of ripple when they redeem somebody, when they may turn somebody, what ripples does it cause? And they're trying to find the one that's going to give the most ripples to, affect the most change and help out. So, I don't know why. I never understood the chili thing. Can you explain? It's just what they do.
I think it's just what they do.
They just have chili after.
Yeah, I think it's just what they do.
We see Marley later at the end.
Look too deeply into it.
He's just eating chili. So then they try to find the next perp, who turns out to be, they want to do this guy who's like in Canada, right? He's a hotel manager, just an absolute douche hotel manager. And while they're there, that's when Ryan Reynolds shows up, because he's there meeting the Christmas tree people, and he walks, right in towards Will Ferrell, and that's when he kind of turns and he's like, "Wow, this guy's way bigger of a piece of work than the manager." So that's where that's where we change him. That's what we find. But they don't want him. They don't want to do it because he's unredeemable, and it's really hard to change an unredeemable, and they don't want to waste a year on somebody they don't think they can do it. But he talks him into it. I love the way he talks him into it. But he's like, "I'm about to sing another song." And Marley's like, "Listen, she's told sing the song, you can do it. Don't sing.
If you don't, yes.
You can have your perp."
You can have it if you just stop singing.
Yes.
I'm actually late to another meeting.
Yep. just do it. It's fine. So they do all the legwork. Mind you, Christmas past, she is also already enamored with him, with Ryan Reynolds, with Clint Brakes, because he's hot. And so while they're talking about it, she's already getting like hot and bothered. She's like, "I've only been dead 40 years. Mama needs some."
Yeah.
So like, wow. And they couldn't believe it. So my favorite part of that is that they finally get going, right? It's Christmas Eve and they get going. She goes to take him to the past. She comes back early. They're like, "Where the hell why are you back so soon?" She's like, "Well,
so here's what happened.
We kind of knocked boots in the middle of the haunt. He's in his past. Don't worry. Can you go back? Because
I can't do this."
Yeah. She had sex with him in the middle of the haunt. I did not see that coming.
No, me either. But then she and Will Ferrell end up. So then Will Ferrell ends up replacing her and taking him
to the past and the present. Which is good, because obviously we had to see him in a lot more of the movie than just the part. My favorite is when the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. It's like, "Don't you come back with the same story she did."
Yeah.
So that was fun, because he doesn't talk, right? The Christmas Yet to Come. Always, he just points.
Well, he's not able to talk in the haunt. Yeah, he talks
in
everywhere
the afterlife
else.
To everywhere else, he's fine when he's just with his, the other spirits. But during the haunt, when he's with the perp, he can't talk, and that was great how they did that. So anyway, so now you get Will Ferrell through most of the rest of it, and trying, it's basically two storylines running in sync. Because then Will Ferrell, he starts to like Ryan Reynolds' assistant, right? Which I thought was interesting.
She's not his assistant. She's his executive vice president.
That's right.
She's like his number 2.
Yeah, she's the one who digs up all the dirt on people. So
Oppo. She does opposition research.
Right.
That's Octavia Spencer.
Yes, and she's obviously not extremely happy with the life choices she's made to do this, because it's a pretty.
I think that she's okay with it, but I think it's sort of like it's starting to wear on her, right?
Yeah,
she's done it for a long time. She's digging up research. She's basically digging up dirt dirt on people for a living and like highlighting their mistakes.
Yes.
And I think what really sort
Which
of turns
effectively
her,
then ruins their life most of the time. So she knows that she has a hand in ruining these people's lives, no matter how insignificant it might be. But then they turn it all around and make it this big thing to cancel that person. And she's helping to do that.
But you know, you get to see her story arc too, in terms of like her changing. That there is, you know, Clint has a sister who passes away, and he has a niece, and the niece wants to run for student council president in the 8th grade, and he helps her find some information to cancel one of her opponent.
Yeah, her opponent.
And
who was basically like a shoo-in almost, right?
And well, maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah,
but
it was
like,
probably it seemed like she was very much like he's just going to win no matter what.
And Kimberly, who is Octavia Spencer's character, helps dig up some unflattering stuff that he posted, you know, I mean, when he was in 6th grade. So now we're talking about 8th grade. So as a 12-year-old, right, he's posting stupid stuff that 12-year-olds post.
Right.
And then, you know, a couple of years later, she's getting ready to use it against him so that he'll get canceled.
Yeah.
And what you see, you know, through Christmas Yet to Come is this, you know, this kid ends up committing suicide because of the canceling.
Right.
And so that's the thing that really starts Ryan Reynolds turning.
Yes.
And saying like, whoa. Because of a little online dust up, this is what he did. Yeah, because he's 14.
Right.
And like they can't see their way out.
No.
So yeah, and I'm really glad that they handled that as seriously as they did, because I think that that's one of the biggest problems, right?
Oh, it happens every day.
Right, with all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I was really happy that they did such a serious treatment of that. And the repercussions, not just for this kid, right? Obviously that this kid is dead, but the repercussions on his niece, like that she's shunned basically, right? Because she did this.
Yeah.
And that, you know, his tactics may help people win, but what's the cost?
Right.
And what's the cost in the long term? Yeah. And that's, I don't think anything he'd ever considered before. And I'm not sure that the character would have if it wasn't, you know.
No.
If it
he was very happy doing what he was doing. He was very good at it. It was more about the hunt. It was more about the kill than the repercussions. He couldn't care less because he got what he wanted. He got what he wanted. He got very rich off of it. You know? So I thought that was, like you said, it was very well handled. You know, a super touchy subject, super important subject to talk about, especially nowadays. So yeah, I'm glad they highlighted that, but didn't make a joke out of it. You know. So okay, so we got through that. What else? We wanted to talk about. So yeah, the sister. That was kind of the thing. That's a major thread. Is the sister who dies of cancer? I believe. Yep. You know, she's a single mom. She got pregnant on her own and had the daughter. And you know, then when she's dying, she asked Ryan Reynolds. She asked Clint to take care of her daughter, and he's so selfish and he's so busy, and he's not going to be a dad, and he doesn't do it. So their other brother, Owen, who is like the nicest guy in the world. But, you know.
He's kind of a doof.
He's kind of a doof, right? He's just hapless and not really going anywhere, doing anything. So he, of course, he's like, I'll do it. You know, I'll take care of her, you know. And, of course, that's one of the bigger turning points, too. And he keeps showing, because they did it like twice. Basically, they showed him that scene of his sister and her talking to him, you know, basically from her hospital bed. And
that he feels regret there, too.
Yeah.
Like, he feels regret there. And that he, you know, that was a bigger piece, that he does regret being selfish. But there are things in his life that, like, you know, he's very clear as they're going through it that, like, he doesn't regret that he lost that relationship, or he doesn't regret that he's, you know, where he is right now, for a lot of reasons, right? But there are bigger things like, losing his sister and not
who was
having,
like the best to him. Like she was like really, really good to him.
Who was really
better than his mother and
took care of him really when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And
his mother was just a drunk. She was an alcoholic. So
and so, you know, through that, like, you know, beginning to own it. But I also think it was interesting. Like, he felt terrible about the kid and really wanted to take that back, but everything else he was fine with.
Do you think he was? That's one question I wanted to ask you. Do you think he was fine? Because I feel like with a lot of people, no matter how much they put up a front, and the more they argue, and the more they defend it, it seems like the more they don't believe what they're saying, and they know that he knows he was a douche, and he knows that he was selfish, and he knows and he regrets more than he's letting on. Because anytime Will would bring something to him, he would just and try to defend it, and just using his slick tactics, and it was almost like he's trying to talk his way out of believing it, but even though deep down he does.
And towards the end, he didn't do that as much,
right?
But also, like, once he saw the kid commit suicide, he was like, okay, let's just be done.
Yeah,
let's just do this, and then he really couldn't get his way through quick enough,
right?
And I feel like he wasn't, maybe he had begun to turn and change, but he wasn't totally there. He's not totally there until the very, very end.
Right. Because then they become bros.
Yeah.
So him and Will Ferrell, so he basically built a relationship with Present, right? They become really close friends throughout this whole process because again, they were both unredeemables, and they see, each other for who they are, and so he starts to become very friendly with him and tries to help him get with Kimberly, because Will Ferrell, he starts to fall for Kimberly. And if he's going to take his retirement and become human again, he wants to be with her. So, Briggs basically helps to make that happen.
Well, and I think somewhat from a selfish perspective, like to get the heat off of him, right? But also I think because he's starting to show some caring for Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
And really wanting what's best for him.
Yes. And I thought that was a nice touch, and and putting him out there for that. So he starts to. It's some of the times they were together. Like, obviously they spend the most time together in the movie, and whether they're in the present or the past or the future or whatever, and people can see them or can't see them. As the whole thing it happens during a Christmas Carol. Usually where they're in a reenactment, and that was really funny. The whole thing was basically like a reenactment, especially the past stuff. Right, the people for the spirits had whole departments to recreate the past scenes and things like that. So again, it's a different take on how they get it to happen. But you go to like Clint's Christmas Eve party, and there's people, like, some people can see him, and then at one point they can't. The people all dressed up for a Christmas Eve party in costume. I thought that was hysterical.
I did too.
You see, like, the Heat Miser, one of his guys. You see the brother Owen is dressed up as Eddie from a Christmas Vacation. He's dressed up as Uncle Eddie, and then at one point Will Ferrell he can see when he's alive, he runs into somebody who's dressed as Elf. He's like, he looks stupid. Like, okay,
it's hysterical.
Yeah, it's kind of like an easy gag, but I just appreciate it. I love when they do stuff like that. I know people hate that kind of thing. I think it's funny. It's kind of pandering. It's like, all right, it's an easy joke because you're making a reference to Elf and it's Will Ferrell.
Yeah, but
I'd almost feel like it's a miss if you don't do it. You know
what I
mean? So that was really funny. So what were some of your other favorite parts of the movie?
So I really enjoy the Good Afternoon sequence, but I also like the song that I also enjoy when Will Ferrell sings Unredeemable.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of power to it, although I have to say...
Yeah, let's get to this because we both want to talk about this.
In terms of singing...
Oh, boy.
Maybe not the strongest bunch of singers.
No. I think out of the three main would be obviously Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds, and Octavia Spencer. Like the three who have like the biggest solos or biggest numbers. In my opinion, Ryan Reynolds has the best voice and weight of singing. Oddly enough, I would put hands down that would have been Octavia Spencer. It's not. It's not.
She's
a great actress, but a wonderful singer, she is not.
Yeah.
I mean, the stage production, when they eventually get around to making a stage production, like a Broadway show out of this, they'll obviously have some really good singers. Like Will Ferrell, God bless him. I love him. I know Larry can't stand him. I love Will Ferrell, but like, man, sounds like a bag of cats being thrown against the wall when he's singing. It's really, it's a little tough.
I don't know if it was that bad.
Oh,
but I do think that it's
hit.
not. Yeah, but I do think that there are, stronger voices, shall we say. But I don't know that they would have had the personality to play the role.
No, that's the point. But remember him in Alpha, he's like, I'm singing, I'm in a store, and I'm singing. Like, that's the range. Like, it's better than that, obviously, but because that was just a joke. But it was to me, some parts, some of the times he was trying to sing, like the big ballads and his solos, sounded like, oh, this is just Will Ferrell trying to sing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he probably thinks he's really good in the bathroom or in his car. He sounds great. But in this movie, it's not so much.
Well, I think it was the best that they were going to get.
Yeah. And let me say, though, to me, it doesn't detract from the movie.
No, I agree.
We've watched it so many times, listened to the album a bunch of times, and it is them singing. So, it might not be the strongest singing, but it's still wonderful, and the movie's still wonderful, and it doesn't stop me from watching it again and again.
I agree.
The reviews on it are mostly positive. I'm looking like IMDb. You get a lot of 8s and 10s. There's some lower ones, but there's always going to be. But for reality is it's mostly positive. Although the IMDb rating is only 6.6 out of 10.
And so there's obviously a lot of lower ratings.
There's definitely some lower ratings, but it's average like 7s. In the 7s is like about the high is like the most common. What would you give it?
So
how many good afternoons would you give it?
Well, how many?
And we're gonna jump into the end. We're not done talking about it, but
how many? What's my rating system? 1 to 5?
Yes. We go through this every time.
I'd probably.
Where's Mila? We go through this every time.
I'd probably give it 4 good afternoons because of the singing.
Yeah, I'd probably go. Yeah, I would go between 4, 4.5. The singing pulls that half point off for me. Other than that, it's just a fun ride. The comedy. Let's talk about the comedy in this one because it's just chock full. Obviously, it's 2 great comedians, comedic actors working off each other, which again we talked about was just an amazing pairing, and their chemistry worked really well together. And some of the stuff that they come out with almost seems like it's improvised, but I'm sure it probably wasn't. But
maybe not.
I want to check into that.
Sometimes some of the best stuff comes out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were talking about, the boy who committed suicide, and before that, he's just like, you get what you get. When you say things like that online, you just got to take the lumps with the lumps, and you take what you got to get. And then Will Ferrell says, what?
He was in 6th grade, you butt crack.
You butt crack. It's just like the harshness that they speak to each other throughout the whole movie until the end when they're buddies. The harshness that they get at each other is just hysterical.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's really is.
Pretty.
Yeah.
He had a couple of them. That's one of my favorites.
That is one of your favorite because you still quote that one. Absolutely.
I think that's, I think watching the interplay between the two of them, of course, they're most of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think watching that, but also watching the relationship grow and then become bros at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and actually that's what redeems him, right?
Yeah.
Is his ability to form this relationship with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
With Will Ferrell, excuse me. Is that Clint's ability to form this relationship with Present that's actually what redeems him in the end.
Yes.
And gets him to finally sort of like get over the hump and be redeemed.
Yeah. So major spoilers, let's talk about the ending. Because the ending is one of those endings that, as much as having seen the whole ending, I love it. But it's one of those endings that bothers me. Because I like the positive ending, and it's not that it's not a positive ending.
You
it
only
is.
like a happy ending.
I love a happy ending. It's not that it's not a happy ending. In a way, it is, and in a way, it isn't. Right. But at the end of the day, when Ryan Reynolds he saves Will Ferrell because Will Ferrell's like, I need to go back and be a spirit again because he's basically this isn't working out. He jumps in front of a bus to kill himself essentially.
But Will Ferrell does that because he wants to try to save Ryan Reynolds.
Yes,
and because he has this own internal conflict about like, am I really good or am I not good?
Yeah.
And, Ryan Reynolds says to him, of course you are. And Will Ferrell's like, what do you mean now? People change? You don't think people change.
Right.
And so he just sort of like goes to throw himself in front of a bus.
And then Ryan Reynolds pushes him out of the way. And that's when everything stops. That's the moment they know they've redeemed him because he gave selfishly of himself to save a friend, to save someone else. And so they do their big musical number. They redeemed him, right? Which is a great musical number. And then boom, the bus hits him. Like everything, all the spirits go away and the reality comes back.
Not expected.
Not expected. It launches him well in the air and down the road into like the back of a pickup. And he sees legs hanging out. And he gets up like, man, that hurt. And he looks down. He's still, his body's there. And he realizes he's dead. And then the spirits come back. And so now it's that. again, to me, that's not a happy ending. Like, right, you want them to be friends and everybody's alive and it's great. But it worked because he then he's like, this sucks. But then his sister, his dead sister, comes to see him. And she's like, no, come with me. It'll be fine. We're going to go to the afterlife together. And then Ryan Reynolds, or Clint Briggs being the ultimate salesman, says, wait, I got a better plan. So just going off to the bright white light, even though Marley's like, no, go ahead. Go to the light.
Go to the light.
He's trying to get rid of him.
He's like ready to get rid of him,
He's totally ready to get rid of him at this point. He's like, wait a minute, I got an idea. It's a little unorthodox. Hear me out. So then he becomes the ghost of Christmas Present.
Well, I don't know if maybe not right present. Away. He is present when we see him. Yeah. But remember that's at least 8 years later.
Right.
So I don't know if he's been present the whole time, or
it seemed like it because they had to replace him because Will Ferrell is alive. He's alive, so they had no Christmas present for the very next year. So they had to bring in somebody. So I think he becomes very much, because he seemed like by the time we see him, he's very entrenched in what's going on. He knows what's happening. He's running the show almost. Marley's almost taking a sit back seat, but because he's kind of doing a lot of what Ryan Reynolds is asking him to do. Well,
I also think Will Ferrell was basically running the show. Like, he and Marley were more, they were partners in life, and so they carried that through to the afterlife.
Right.
Whereas I think Ryan Reynolds is now, he's a force for good. So he's taking all that energy and thing that he had and
But he ran a company. He ran a major corporation. So he's kind of running that corporation.
Exactly. So they're expanding. There's going to be the ghost of Ramadan past and the ghost of Hanukkah yet to come. And it's a whole thing. You're going to love it. And then they're running this self-care thing, our ongoing self-care thing, and they're expanding, and it's just very like, obviously,
and he's quote unquote married to Christmas Past.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds is married to Christmas Past. But and his sister's working there.
His sister's there, so they've expanded. It's all of these things.
So he's with his sister in the afterlife. He's married to Christmas Past, and they're trying to come up. They have a new perp, this female apparently, who they're trying to turn, and they can't figure out how to get her. Like, they can't figure out what the hook is. Right. Everybody's got to have some kind of chink in the armor. Like, what's how do we get her? So he goes to Will Ferrell first. Goes he can make himself seen and solid, right? Like, so he goes to them because he's like, all right, hi, how you doing? Good to see you. It's been a while, gives her a big hug, and Will Ferrell's in the backyard with their two boys, Ronnie and what was the other one?
I think it's a girl.
Oh, that's right. There was a girl. That's right. There was a girl. It was a girl and a boy. Sorry, it was a girl and a boy. And he's trying to put together one of those play sets. He's just screaming at him. I can't put together. The damn screws keep falling in the grass. He's like, sorry. Sometimes it comes out. Sometimes it just comes out. And then you see Will Ferrell talk to the kids. He's yelling, "Hey guys!" And he kneels down to give him a big hug, and they charge at him. And he makes himself like transparent. They just fly right through him. Like, that never gets old. They just fly. That gets me every time. That never gets old. But it's Ryan Reynolds' delivery. He is a king of delivery. I'm sorry. He's like one of our current actors who is just an absolute master at that comedic timing and delivery.
Yeah, I agree.
Sort of deadpan, dry, like matter of fact delivery. You know what I mean? But still got that the wit. His wit seems effortless.
Yes, I think so. He's Deadpool, right? Yeah. Deadpool as a character, I think I would have liked, but I don't think I would have loved him as much as I do if Ryan Reynolds hadn't been the one who played him.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, Deadpool appeals.
Let's talk about Deadpool for a second because it's Ryan Reynolds. You're absolutely right.
Deadpool appeals to me on 1,000 levels, right? He's funny. He's snarky. He's the mark with the mouth. He breaks the fourth wall. All the things that I like in a character. Yeah. Right? And
that was always the character in the comic books pretty much, from day one.
But there's something special about the way Ryan Reynolds portrays it.
It's one of those, like, perfect castings, you know what I mean, like Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier, or you have Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, he has Tony Stark. You know what I mean? It's almost like, shit, this person just like born to be able to play this character. Like they didn't need to shift. Almost like they're acting as effortless because it's almost like this is who they are in real life. And it's not necessarily true, but you know what I mean?
No, I don't know. If you look at his Twitter and Blake Lively's Twitter, like they kind of go back and forth like that. So I think part of the reason it is effortless is because that is a major part of his personality. Like, we're not going against the grain. And I think for the two of them in this movie,
stretch.
Exactly. And I think, coming back to this, for the two of them in this movie, it was sort of a natural fit, right? They were both able to take pieces of their own personality. I'm sure it changed and evolved and whatever, and fit in with this, which makes the roles a lot more effortless.
Ronnie, there's a bathroom inside. The kids blast through him. They go off screen. He's walking off screen to the left. He just turns. Like, Ronnie, there's a bathroom inside.
Yeah.
It's just one little quick.
The joy of boys.
Oh, it's awesome. It was just one little thing after another. And then, of course, they're together at the end when they're just, is it a reprise or reprise? Reprise.
Reprise.
Okay.
Reprise.
And they start singing. Oh, it's just so many bits of wonderful laid throughout this movie, with obviously a great story, a great message, and multiple ones, to be honest with you. Like I said, like we talked about, you know what I mean? What you online presence and what you do to people and things like that was another. It's not just the redeemable, you can be better, traditional Dickens story, right? There's other stories laid within it, which I think is pretty wonderful.
Well, like what?
Well, like we're talking about, when you're trashing somebody online and what can happen to suicide, things like that. That's a part of the story, right? That's a big part of her, the daughter, Ren, trying to become the and what he's trying to do with her. You know what I mean? Trying to get her to sink to his level.
Well, these are the long-term consequences. I think, like, facing the long-term consequences of your actions, much like Marley, or much like Scrooge, probably never really thought about it, like all the people he was making go hungry or put out of work or all of those pieces. It's the same thing here. And also, it is very different when you play that game with an adult than when you play it with a kid.
Yes.
But still, like,
eighth grader, for God's sakes.
However, okay, but even take that out of it. But still, how many adult suicides have we seen this year?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're few and far between.
No.
I feel like in the last few days, there have been at least 5 or 6 people who have passed away, and I haven't looked at them all, and some of them have been really clear about what it is, but it's those ones that are like, they passed away, no details are immediately forthcoming.
Right. Yeah.
And, I think this time of year can be a particularly hard one for people. I think, for as joyous as the holiday season can be, when you've lost or you're depressed, or, for a million different reasons, I don't want to just elicit because there are lots of different reasons, it can be really, really difficult and torturous to get through with all the images of happy families and, how things are supposed to be and this version of the world that we live in. It can just be too much. Yeah,
absolutely. So that was, again, that's a couple of the different storylines that go out through it. Basically, same thing with Octavia Spencer's character, right? Like just being able to look at yourself in the mirror and, is she living her best life? Is she doing what's making her happy? You know what I mean? And her having to sort of have that arc where she finally quits.
Well, and she's certainly wealthy, right? Like she's certainly wealthy. She's made plenty of money. Yeah. She's, part of the first song she says is, my mom used to clean ritzy places like this. And, you'd think I'd arrived, but what have I done to get here?
Right.
How have I compromised myself? Because I used to be someone who saw so much good in everyone. And now all I do is opposition research and try to find the crap.
An 8th grader.
Well, yeah. Well, that's really the, like...
That was the final straw.
Yeah.
I think it would be for anybody.
Yeah. I think it would be for any person with a heart. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
She was good at the line when she's finally like, hey, your niece Ren is here to see you. He's like, yeah, I'm really busy. She's like, okay, I will tell you only your dead sister's only daughter.
Your late sister's only daughter.
He's like, whoa, that is some top-notch hardcore guilt tripping. The way you emphasize late. Perfect.
Well, and he deserved it.
No, he totally deserved it.
Did you get the phone I sent? Oh, that's another line that I love. There's a part where the niece, Ren, and Owen are ice skating.
Yes.
And Will Ferrell brings Ryan Reynolds there. And he says to him, your brother's a good man, right? Ryan Reynolds says, I pay for everything, right?
You're gross. He's like, I pay for everything. You're gross.
You're gross. And then he says, yeah, you know what? He is a good man.
Yeah.
And, it's the change, like it's the gradual change that comes through that too. And also I feel like it's Will Ferrell giving him shit, which is important. Like he needed to have that. He needed to face those things.
Yes.
That, yes, you contribute, but just because you pay doesn't excuse you from every other thing that's happening here.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So watching that interplay, and he does it a lot through the movie, right? He's really, every time he has to kind of shove something in his face.
Yeah.
He's really good about not just shoving, but he rubs it in his face, and just the way Will Ferrell kind of tops it off every time. You know, when he's, you know, when they see him talking to his old boss before he kind of quits, it's like, I'm just gonna land on you. He's like, you did this, and he ran this company, you know, and he's got to sleep at night basically, you know, and you did this. You basically ran it into the ground with your bullshit, you know, and he just like, really rubs it in his face very, very well. But then again, so there's the comedic moments that the timing they put into it. When Ryan Reynolds starts singing, he reverses it on him. He's like, you know, basically this story is really about you and your song. And he starts singing, and they end up in the soup kitchen for the homeless shelter. And he's singing, and Will Ferrell just cuts him off mid-song. He's like, this is not a duet. He's like, what are you, 5? What are you,
Get down.
what are you, 5 years old?
Get down from there.
Yeah, it was really good. That was unexpected. I didn't see that one coming.
No, I think there's a lot of them you don't see coming.
Yeah. Which is a great thing about this movie,
for
right?
sure.
It's not. There's nothing sort of formula about this movie, right? It's a Dickens. It's a Christmas Carol. Excuse me. But it's not a formula.
No.
Right? Like he,
The
you know,
pieces
just,
you know, like there's enough to hold on to that you're familiar with.
yeah. But even like Scrooge with Bill Murray. Great movie, and they reference it in this movie, by the way, which is one of my favorite things. It's very meta, it's self-aware. Like, oh my god, when he does see Marley, you know, he's all the chains. He's like a Christmas Carol, like with Bill Murray and Bobcat Goldthwait, like Scrooge. He's like, yes, like the Bill Murray movie and all the other iterations that nobody asks for.
One of the other things that I really like is while Marley's there trying to do his thing and present to him, like, this
do the
is
whole,
what's
you're
gonna
gonna
happen.
be seen by the
You're gonna
three
be
spirits,
seen, and you know, and he goes, wait, excuse me, I'm just a little stuck here. So, from all the people in the world, murderers, racists, people who throw gender reveal parties, you have chosen me.
You're haunting me.
Yeah, like there have to be worse people in the world, and it's that like lack of self-awareness, but also this, like, you know, it's just that much of an ass.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love that, like, to me, that's just one of the best parts of the writing of this movie, because I always find that funny when they're gonna throw in the, you know, gender reveal party people. I mean, you got like the worst of the worst, right? Murderers and rapists and people who throw gender reveal parties. Like, where the hell did that come from?
I don't know if he said rapists or racists.
I want to say it was rapists, but you could be right.
Either one.
Still
Both
bad.
Very bad.
Very bad.
Both
yeah.
Extremely.
The
bad.
other word I wanted to chat with you about too is when they're in the past, Scrooge's past, the guy who was in the road with the horse and stuff like that. I don't know if he calls him genius or dingus.
Oh, I always heard genius.
Yeah, I think it's dingus. I've been listening to it like on the I think it's dingus, which is a word. Like, that's a word they would use. Dingus is a word.
Seems more than genius.
It's a slang.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, the side note. Let's do it so many times, but yeah, that's still one of my favorites. Okay. Is there anything other than the singing? Because we talked about that. Anything you didn't like about the movie?
No,
this will be a hard part because we know we love it.
No, I have to say, like, I liked the singing was tough. I think that, you know, there are
the songs are wonderful.
Yeah, the songs are well written. Like, they take a lot of things that are,
but they're not the best vocalists.
Right. I think the songs in and of themselves, like, they have a good message. They take things that are like, you know, they incorporate things that are like everyday things. The songs are not as like, I don't know. Sometimes in musicals it can feel very stretched and hard, and I feel like the songs flow very naturally here. But yeah, the singing is not great. Other than that, I think, you know, there's slow moments like every movie, but I don't know that there's a ton of them.
No.
I think it travels at a pretty good pace.
Yeah, I think so. I think it does. I wonder when they finally get around to doing the stage production if they'll add more songs.
I think they probably need to.
That's what I was thinking, right? Because there's a lot of stuff in the movie. Like I said, it's a little over 2 hours. There's only 12 songs in the album. And a couple of them, I think, right? There's, I don't know if that Christmas Morning Feeling, Story of Your Life. Story of Your Life plays twice, right? It's Marley's Haunt and then Clint's Pitch, so it's kind of twice.
Yeah.
But I think they would have to add more because there's a lot of the movie that is like, cinematic stuff and action and
Action.
CG and things like that when he's doing all the transitions that you're not going to get on a stage production so much, So I think they'll have to add more to fill in the song. So it'll be interesting to see if it comes around. I think we'll definitely going to go see that.
I think if they do it, it's gonna have to be like and it's gonna be hard. It's going to have to be like a minimal set, kind of a like Hamilton-esque production because the transitions are so quick.
Yes. Well, yeah, because he's flying from the past to the different parts of the past really fast.
Yeah.
From the hospital to his old... Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it would make it really hard to make it a stage production in a lot of ways that you can't do on film. But be that as it may.
Yeah. They'll get around to it.
Yeah. I think it was really... I think that, there definitely have to be more songs. Although, I was just thinking, like, Encanto's not very many songs.
No.
And that's...
Can we talk about that for a second? Because Disney Plus has the Encanto at the Hollywood Bowl. Mm-hmm. You haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I did. I watched the
other night. Did? Oh, you did watch it. Okay, because I watched it before you did, and you were very upset. But I loved it. Did you love it? Mm-hmm. I was disappointed in two things. What were they? Do you know?
No.
Bruno's not there, and neither is Camilo.
Yeah.
The actual actors who played them, Johnny Legs and God, what's his name? He's famous. The other guy. They didn't come back to do it, so I was a little disappointed in that. I understand, but I get it. People, schedules, and that must have been a nightmare to schedule to get all those people back.
Also, when you think about when you think about like what John Leguizamo particularly had very little that he sang, and Camilo as well.
Yeah,
like really had very few lines.
No, I know, but there's definitely some parts where they should have been there. Like they would be in there. You know what I mean?
I don't know. That didn't ruin it for me. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, it didn't ruin it. I just kind of felt like there's just a little something missing, if you will. Not ruined by any side. I thought it was wonderful. Everybody sounded great. It just, it's just a little bit, little something missing for me. That's all.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's on that. Okay, so back to Spirited. Are we gonna watch it again tonight?
Well, we have pretty much every night.
I mean, pretty much, right? Like, at this point, is it something we watch when we go to bed? Like, when we just kind of, let play?
Like just chilling, yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of chill. Now, before we had to watch it continuously because we wanted to see every bit of it, now it's one of those ones that end up watching us because we know it so well. If we can go to sleep to it at night. It's just it's just that type of movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, I apologize that we spoiled the hell out of it, but that's your fault. You should have listened after. Go watch the movie first.
See it, yeah.
But you definitely should see it and then let us know what you think. We want to hear from people. We want to hear what people think of the movie. Drop us a line, on our social media, because I want to post this up on our Instagram, obviously our Facebook, things like that. So let us know what you thought of the movie itself. We'd love to hear from you on that. Any final words on Spirited?
Nope.
That's it? You're good?
I'm good. Those are all the words I have.
That's all the words you had. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Amy. And I'll say good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Just two little words will change your tune. Good afternoon. So that was it, gang. We really appreciate listening. Drop us a line on Apple Podcast. Let us know what you think. Drop us a review if you would be so kind. We'd love to hear from you. Also through our YouTube channel. You can do that and leave some comments. We've been getting some good comments on our YouTube channel, which is great. That's been growing. So thank you for those who have been listening and watching on our YouTube channel. We're going to continue to do more and add more to that as well and really flesh that out. We'd really like to do some more live videos and things like that. After the line, I'll chat with you about somebody else I got contacted by to do a interview. So we'll talk about that afterward. But anyway, gang, so look forward, as I said, for the rest of the month of January and into February, we're going to be doing Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. We're going to be doing Vice Versa with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage. One of my favorites, we're going to be doing Like Father, Like Son with Kirk Cameron and Dudley Moore. And I know, right? Scrunchy face. Oh, that's one of my favorite movies growing up. And one of my all-time favorite movies, we're going to be doing Trading Places with the 3 geeky dads, all 4 of them. So that's going to be great. They're going to come up to the school, and we're all podcast in one big room together. So that's kind of an adventurous thing. There's going to be 8 of us.
And how many mics?
8. We'll have 8. I think I have 8. If I bring these 2, I think I have 6 at the school, and these 2.
Oh Jesus! Okay.
Yeah, I can just from the mixer. I can just split. I can split all 4 channels into 2 channels each, into 2 mics each. So
that's irrelevant.
Yeah, no, just saying. Yeah, we'll be able to handle that. Everybody will have their own mic, but be sharing a channel. So not that I do a whole lot of editing with it. I like a little raw dog anyway, just to pump up the volume a little bit, and that's about all I do. So I like it au natural. This podcast just got dark. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We are Entertainment Rants at entertainmentrants.com. We'll see you soon. Everybody, hashtag, what are we going to do?
Let's rant.
Let's rant. We'll talk it out. Good afternoon.